You're listening to our podcast. This is LBC, on LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Steve Allen.
Morning, everybody. 4 minutes past 4. It's nice to have your company. Oh, somebody's done that before, haven't they? Mind you, he's not with us anymore, so perhaps I could nick the catchphrase, because you've got to have a catchphrase. I had a good one back in December. It was Merry Christmas. Within a short space of time, everybody was using the blooming thing. 5th of January, 'tis Wednesday. Katie Price says 2022 will bring no more dramas. Yeah, right, dear. As she heads towards her 4th marriage and her 6th driving conviction for drunk driving. Rebel Wilson loses 5.5 stone because the papers are mad for people losing weight after Christmas. Although Nigella Lawson's secret to losing weight, eat more food. How that works, I've got no idea. Also, the postman caught weeing yards from a family's front door inside their property. He's weeing against the hedge. He won't have a job by the end of the day, although probably if they do fire him, the union will be out it, won't they, and sort of protest at getting... He's literally weeing, but he's caught on one of these video cams on the front door. Huh. What a stupid man. The very idea that a postman would actually sort of wee in your front garden against the hedge. I mean, I think that's terrible. Also, do you know how much Adele lost? No, I can't remember. Did she lose a load? 7 stone. Wow. Phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. Kate Garraway says trolls told her she didn't deserve an MBE. They need to find these people. These are sickos. These people should be put in court and they should be charged and thrown in prison. It's as simple as that. You know, if you're too stupid, that's the trouble nowadays. You know, people, the trolls who are out there who write things to people. I've never written to anybody in my entire life. Why would I waste time? Can't be bothered. But these people have said so. Just because you've looked after Derek and all the rest of it. No, she does charity work. She made a programme dealing with it. These people, because they're sick and thick, they don't know that. But, I mean, she should really pass it on to the police and get it sorted out. Derek is phenomenally fatigued and very weak, and they don't know what the new year will bring. She had to, eventually, she took him out to the pantomime. I think they did Richmond pantomime. But this is after his devastating battle with coronavirus. And in fact, even Boris Johnson says it's crazy. Crazy. It doesn't apply to Derek, but crazy that the majority with COVID in intensive care are unjabbed. Those two, we had another 3 deaths the other day. There was a woman who was a beauty therapist somewhere. She was pregnant and then she had the baby. She decided not to get jabbed. And a week later, she picked up COVID because you can pick it up just about anywhere. And she's dead. There's another 2 people as well, 2 actors, aren't they, who are 75. Again, they weren't jabbed, and they're both dead now, died within a week and a little bit apart. And they're just tip of the iceberg. So if you don't get jabbed, and because this latest strain is a bit, bit in your face, you can pick it up anywhere, pick it up on buses, pick it up all over the place. I know no end of people. In fact, I spoke to a close friend of mine yesterday, and I said, how's everything going? And she went, well, I had COVID over Christmas. And I went, oh, goodness. But, what can you do? You can only advise, can't you? If you want to help middle-aged people tackle depression, get them a skateboard, apparently. This is the latest fascinating fact that you'll be reading in the newspapers. Also, The Apprentice is coming back. It's been filmed, a lot of it already. They filmed it a while ago before the pandemic really sort of kicked in. It's another bunch of old has-beens where they come up with the biggest pile of garbage you've ever heard in your entire life. Not one of them. I mean, some of them have even been on other reality shows. It's now getting so desperate, even for The Apprentice, they can't find anybody. Where'd you find people that stupid? On The Apprentice. They all put them... I mean, one of the women sells pyjamas. She thinks she's a sort of a fashionista. Somebody... what was the other one? Oh, they've got a domestic cleaning company. Sorry, an industrial cleaning company, which means they're a cleaner. And that's what they put it down as. And they stick them in a suit and you think, oh, they're business people. But one of them, he's just been on reality show. There's a woman, she's been on reality shows, about 3 of them. And then they put her on The Apprentice. What for? The woman's quite clearly an idiot. What would you put The Apprentice is supposed to be, I assumed, people who were fairly successful in business but wanted to take it a step further. Now it's a case of, oh, I want to be famous. And that's the extent of their dreary existence. People who take pictures of breastfeeding mothers could face jail. Do you know, to be honest with you, up until that moment when I read those words, I'd no idea that there were people out there, perverts we call them, who take pictures of women breastfeeding. I mean... I really couldn't... I mean, I've sat on trains where the woman sitting opposite has started breastfeeding. And I've walked past Starbucks and women sitting in the window. I don't know why in the window, but they just in the window, breastfeeding. But apparently, if you take photos without their consent, well, what woman's going to go, yeah, of course, take a picture. Look, hello, what do you reckon? Of course not. That was the old Joan Rivers thing, wasn't it? She said, I did a show. She said, the woman in the front row was breastfeeding. She said, who would you look at, me or her? The kid was 26. So you have to sort of pick up on these things. Newly discovered comet caught on camera. There's a lovely picture of some blokes taken, but you know that they're always fake because there are no such things as little spacemen. He took it in this country, and it shows apparently a picture of a naked spaceman who's transparent walking through a field, obviously looking for the number 12 bus or something. And he's sort of taken this picture. He must have the oldest, crappiest phone you've ever seen in your entire life to take a picture of something. It's so blurry, it's not physically possible. It's not physically possible. And he said, this is an area well known for UFOs. You go, no, it's not, darling. It's famous for people who drink a lot. That's what it is. I couldn't find it in the Daily Star. I did look in the Daily Star. But, so I don't know where it is. Peter Andre's dragging out his 5 minutes of fame. He's now talking about his six-pack and, you know, what he went... I mean, who cares? Who cares? Poor old Pete, as he heads into his twilight zone, all by himself, is sort of still going on about he must be launching something. Perhaps it's a diet. They've all done it, haven't they? Greg Wallace, bit creepy, that creepy little smile. And, he's a greengrocer. Well, he was, but he didn't have any businesses anymore. Poor old Gaz's business looks like it's going to be closed down. You know why? This is Paul Gascoigne, that well-known personality. Well, he's got a business which looks after his interests. They're going to make a film about his life. Shouldn't take too long, should it? I was an idiot. I sort of put fake breasts on and sort of pranced around like a nincompoop and then fell over drunk. And then it all went a bit pear-shaped. But, you know, the reason they could close the business down is because he's not filed accounts. You know, which generally speaking, if you've got a business, you have to file accounts. And generally speaking, your accountant will do it for you. I'll just tell you how much you owe. But poor old Gascoigne, they could close the business down. I mean, the company's first set of financial figures were due by October the 26th last year, but they've still not been filed. I mean, you feel like saying to him, are you a complete idiot? And the answer is, you know, you should have filed them. I mean, I'm hoping he must have an accountant because he hasn't got the intelligence to set up a company by himself. I've got a company. And loads of people, in fact, every presenter I know has now got a company, a limited company. Yes, 4am Spike Limited, 21 million downloads, can't be wrong. That kind of thing, which we love. But because we're all back to normal now. Joe's back after his extended sojourn. He went on holiday in his mind. Didn't actually go anywhere, but he was going to go to America. I mean, that'll be on the cards later, probably in the year, I should imagine. We had a well-known radio presenter wee in our car park once, says Chris. A well-known well, who? You can't say things like that and not tell me who it is. I would want to know who that is. A well-known radio presenter weeing in your car park. Could be anybody. Could be somebody who's incontinent. Because when I had all my problems, I sat on a train once, and I can't believe I'm telling you this, but anyway, I sat on a train once, and because of the severity of the problem, I needed to go to the toilet. And on this particular train, because what they've done with a lot of the Waterloo ones, there's no toilets on the blooming things. They run for 8 to 10 carriages, no toilets. And if they are on there, they're broken or they're they're out of order. And so I had to find a coffee cup, a paper coffee cup, and wee in a coffee cup. It was the only thing that I could do, but it was in the infancy stages of the illness, and whatever it was dire, absolutely dire. Most of it was blood, so I was not doing particularly well, I'm afraid. I was doing very, very badly. But Steve says, Roger, it's quite sad taking the tree down and nothing to look at until the first rays of sunshine in about April. Well, actually, strangely enough, you don't need to take your tree down till tomorrow, 12th night. So you can leave it. I mean, you can also just make sure that you've turned the lights off. If you turn the lights off, it covers you. Because somebody said to me, you get, a year's bad luck if you don't. And you go, what do you mean a year's bad luck? How much worse can it get? How much worse can it get with the pandemic and all the rest of it? It must be a lot of people leaving their tree lights on. So I'll probably turn ours off tomorrow, and then I will sort of dismantle the tree. and try and rescue the lights, because you can't remember the way you put them onto the tree, can you? It's never straightforward. It's always a bit complicated, but we will sort of we shall persevere. But Darren likes the Christmas tree, but now he's much cheered by the fact you don't need to take it down until tomorrow. I mean, according to many traditions, 25th of December is the first day. Some, however, mark the beginning of the 12 days from the 26th of December. Counting from Christmas Day means either the 5th or 6th of January will be 12th night. Anglican churches, I think, say 12th night is on the 5th of January, but other churches mark it the following day. Yeah, I always go for the 6th. As long as you've... No, I'm not Anglican church, no. I've been to Anglican church, which is quite nice. And, Steve, you're cheering me up. I'm missing my Uncle Trevor, who passed away, says David, a year ago. He was 96. Really? 96? And it was a year ago. So, you know, a year in sort of living terms. But the trouble is, as I've said before on the programme, people who pass away, generally about, you know, the Christmas time, you always remember more than at any other time. I can't remember half, when my parents died or anything like that. But you always remember them. You don't forget them, ever. I don't think so. I mean, people sort of say... I mean, I did speak to one lady some while ago, years ago, and she said she couldn't wait for her father to die. She said she was going to put him out with the rubbish. She had no intention of having a burial or anything else. She hated him, absolutely hated him. And I tended to forget. You do get people that don't like certain members of the family, and so somebody goes, oh, so-and-so died. You go, good. And you think, oh, that's always a shame, actually. I mean, people who don't go to parents' funerals and things like that, some people don't go. Although, actually, I've got a friend of mine's birthday to go to. And unfortunately, because of COVID, I think I might have to back out and go, I really don't want to risk it. I mean, so far, I've been all right. I tested myself yesterday morning, and I was clear. And I shall probably test myself again tomorrow morning. And hopefully I shall be clear as well, because I'm being good. I'm being a good boy. And I did see somebody on the bus the other day, and they were clutching their COVID test, the lateral flow things. And I thought, you should really put it in a bag, dear. You should really put it in a bag, because somebody will nick it from you. They're worth gold dust at the moment. Craig Charles, very quickly, is going to front a new TV show proving UFOs exist. Which, of course, they don't. There is no proof that they exist. Nothing at all. It's just a load of old... They said a very rude word then. It's a load of old hooey. It's a lot of people who just want to make things up. It's ridiculous. Rob in Hatfield says, did you manage to get some milk this morning? Because we've run out. Have to wait till Tesco opens. Because you didn't hear about yesterday. We had no milk in the entire building, 16 kitchens. I went through every kitchen. I was being really good trying to find a bit of milk, because there's one thing I need. It's my little bit of wet liquid going on. And so I did appeal on air. I thought maybe Kevin the milkman might be out and listening and would drop in a couple of pints of milk. As it turned out, it was another milkman who was I think he was in St Martin's Lane, and he dropped round 3 pints, a pint of Gold Top and 2 Silver Top bottles, proper bottles of milk. Well, I tell you, he was the star of the... But he didn't want to give his name. But he was the star of the day. He was yesterday. And then I came in and we did check, actually, and apparently no milk was delivered yesterday, so maybe the dairy's not back at work. But there is a bit of milk in the kitchens now, so couldn't go through a programme without my cup of tea.
This is LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Steve Allen.
Morning, nice to have your company. Steve, do electric companies bill themselves on their offices' gas and electric bills? I've got no idea. I don't know. I've got no idea at all. Did you manage to get milk this morning, says Rob? We've got a little bit of milk, but I mean, yesterday was a saving grace. I was the most popular man in the building, I promise you. Liz in Battersea says, just listen to your intro. There are so many things I want to comment on. I'd so love to go to the pub with you. Oh, no, not me. I don't drink. What's the point of going to a pub and have a tomato juice? That's not very exciting. 12th night is actually now. No, it's not. No, it's tomorrow. 12th night, it's the 6th. Always been the 6th, never been the 5th. OK, if you got me a skateboard, I'd be taking up a hospital bed. You wouldn't be, because they're all taken up with people on COVID. OK, there aren't any hospital beds. And don't be knocking Peter Andre's bod. Oh, Liz, he's ancient now. It's like tortuously dragging out something that was, ages and ages ago. My favourite thing was when they made the Peter Andre calendar. I don't even think they sell the calendar anymore. It's sort of disbanded. It was something, and they went out to wherever it was, Greece or somewhere, and he was in the pool, and his agent was there as well at the time, and they were sort of covering him in oil and all the rest of it in the pool, and then he said, "Oh, can I have the sock?" And he had a sock and he shoved it down his swimming trunks to make it look as though there was a bit more there. And I always remember that because people laughed about it. And I remember that when he was in the jungle with Katie Price, he did say the similar thing. He said, "Do you think it's all right?" Which I remember thinking, blimey, he's a bit insecure. And the answer is, teeny tiny, because somebody else said about it. Do you remember there was a Page 3 girl or something who sort of commented on the, not a lot down there and all the rest of it. Mind you, or up there, yes, both ends. Mind you, my argument always used to be years ago, it may not be big, but it filled a pram, which was always fairly popular in Peter Andre's case on quite a few occasions. 84850 steve@lbc.co.uk. The roads and the streets were deserted yesterday, first day back at work. A lot of them were empty, whereas I didn't notice any differently at all. I thought the bus was a little bit busier than usual. We're getting more and more people in the morning who are wearing... There's a stupid man who gets on my bus and he never wears a mask and he coughs. And you think to yourself, well, you'll be paying a visit to a hotel very shortly. 4 in 10 4x4 owners have never taken their car off-road. Except Katie Price, only she turned it over at the same time. The man who took the picture of the alien walking naked through a field. I mean, to be honest with you, you're telling me that on these faraway galaxies and planets there's no Primark? There's no excuse for aliens walking around naked, really isn't. And 999 patients are told get a lift to hospital. They don't have the ambulances. They're too busy taking up. Primark in Ireland is called Pennies. It's not, is it really? Really? It does not call... Oh, right, it's not called Primark. I've only ever been in it once. I walked in, I had a look, and I walked back out again. It's not my sort of thing. It's mainly young girls going in there and buying their entire summer wardrobe for £2.20. That's including the trainers and probably a rain hat as well at the same time. UK, we love you. The first migrants of 2022 have arrived. They came in yesterday. Primark clothes, good value, but they don't wash well. Well, I know. That's why they're cheap. That's why they're cheap. Yeah, you just buy new ones. They used to get... So they don't have little baskets you hold. They've got huge, bag things, because they know you're going to be buying a lot of the stuff. Hundreds of trains axed due to COVID. And Selena Scott talking about women never helped her in her career. It was always men. She makes socks now, doesn't she, out of goat's wool or something? Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know why. She just does, actually. And what was there? Oh, I've got a gadget for you with a real bite. It's a soft toy that nibbles on your fingertips. Sells for about 30 quid or something like that. I'd buy loads. Can you imagine the fun you could have with a toy that wants to nibble on your fingertips? That's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of, but never mind. We will go through the papers. Politicians are psychos who would kill to get their own way, says ITV's political guru. In other news, bears poop in the wood. I still think, always makes me laugh, actually. That card, remember years ago, that lovely card, which... was a huge sequoia tree, the biggest tree you've ever seen, these huge sequoias, and lying underneath it is a little tiny bear, and standing next to him on either side are these two enormous grizzlies, and the wording reads, Winnie the Who. Always used to make me say, you look at the expression on Winnie the Pooh's face, and you go, Winnie the Pooh. I love it. But here are these toys, there you go. The soft toy that nibbles gently, apparently it can be a source of comfort to people. I bet it can. And it's a battery-powered, as always, Amagami Ham Ham, which roughly translates as sweet biting in Japanese. It's been released in Vegas. The inventor even claims he uses one whilst driving to lower his stress levels. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't driving. Amagami Ham Ham was. Couldn't change gears or do anything else like that, but boy, does it give a mean suck on your fingers. 30 quid. It's not bad, is it? When you think they can make those for 30 quid. And yet when you think we used to get excited about that singing fish. Do you remember the singing fish you had on the wall? My godfathers. Big Mouth or something. Big Mouth Billy Bass. And it would move its tail and everything else. They do another one actually now, which you put on the floor, and it's for cats to play with. Yeah, I thought it's a fish. It's not real, obviously. And it flaps its tail and moves around. I don't know what it would come under, but they've advertised it on telly. It's so that your cat is, because you've got to entertain cats. They don't do it by themselves. They just want to sleep. And so if you want your cat to be more adventurous than other cats, I mean, we used to shove ours out the back door at night time, and the cat would sit there and it would all crunch its body up. So it didn't want to go outside. It'd go, it's raining. And we'd go, get out! Get out! And so it would run out the back door and sit under the car and just stare at us till the morning time. I mean, cats are they're not very smart. They just eat and go to toilet and sleep. And that's what, they don't do anything else. They don't go and collect balls. Occasionally they might stick a paw out and, roll it around or something. Never buy a cat Christmas presents. It's a waste of time. Get them a carrier bag. They'll play with that for hours, and in the end they'll jump into it. They'll just sit there in the carrier bag. You can't suffocate in a carrier bag. It's a nice idea though. But originally, the original TV series, November the 70s, Channel 76, says Josh. This is Fame, and another one here. Why is it wrong to speak bad of the dead? It's speak ill of the dead. You never speak ill of the dead. That's what you're supposed to say, because they can't reply back. That's what it was based on. It was a case of, you don't talk about somebody who's dead. But, of course, on the other hand, you can't libel the dead either, because it makes no difference. You can say whatever you like about people who have died. You can say whatever you like about Prince Philip. You can say whatever you like about anybody, because the old adage is you cannot libel the dead. And it is libel, by the way. A lot of people, well, a couple of people are a little bit out to lunch, so seem to think it was slander. But no, it's libel on the radio. It's the same as written print. But some people are a bit thick and don't know that. Prince Andrew has got to wait to see if the civil rape case against him is thrown out by a judge. This is, I'm not surprised he's not gone on holiday with Sarah Ferguson and the two girls. I mean, he's denied it. He's not been charged with anything. All they want him to do, and nobody can quite understand, and I keep saying it every day to the point of boredom, why would he not want to tell the police what he knows about a convicted paedophile and a woman who procured underage girls for sex? And so he was busy mates with them. He must have been. He took them home, introduced them around. They had pictures taken. They went to Balmoral. They went to Buckingham Palace. They went to Windsor. They went just about everywhere. And if your best, mind you, he was never very good at picking people, was he? He never was any good at picking people. He picked a lot of wrong uns in his life. But he was not known as Randy Andy for nothing. That's what the press openly called him. And now all of a sudden he's sort of playing, holier than thou. And we're still asking those questions, aren't we? What is it with this non-sweating? What is it with Pizza Express? Why is it they can't find anybody else who went to this little girl's party at the age of 12? Where were the bodyguards? And why is there no record in the book? You booked Prince Andrew in for a birthday party, which is what it was. Surely somebody be going, look at this, we've got Prince Andrew. None of that at all. Makes you wonder whether or not he's living in a fantasy world, or if he's just got one of those sort of memories that means he forgets things. Who was that other person who kept forgetting things? Oh, it was Harry's missus. She can't remember things either. Must run in the royal families, I suppose. 84850 steve@lbc.co. Kevin says it was me who delivered the milk. Was it? Why didn't you say so? All we heard was it was anonymous. Was it you that delivered the milk? Tinker, honestly. I got a bit worried, actually, thinking, where is Kevin? Oh, but he might be just taking the credit. And Steve and my friend Jo and I are just talking. She's in Italy and I'm in Dubai. That's a bit of a shout, isn't it? Bit of a shout. Natalie, we were both saying how much we love your show. I told you may read this out. No chance. No, we don't do things. It's not two-way family favourites. What is it? Hello to Jean in Dubai. No, we don't do stuff like that. Shout-outs, yes. They used to... Did you ever hear two-way family favourites? It was Cliff Mitchellmore and his wife Jean, I think, and one would be in one country. They go, Group Captain, Stephen Allen, bar DFC 3124. Like to send a big shout-out to the family back there in Withensea, up there in Yorkshire. And then they play a piece of music, and it was very popular. Very, very popular. Happy Wednesday, Steve. And have you ever had Staffordshire oatcakes? Best with bacon, cheese and brown sauce. No. Shane says, is Joey Essex popular in the UK? Absolutely not. He's known as Thicko. He's that dim. He can't tell the time, Shane, because he's doing the I'm a Celebrity, only the Australian version. And nobody knows who he is. So he's not popular over here. You must be really desperate over there in Australia to sign him up. Put it this way, he can't get work in this country. It'd be easier to send him out to sort of, South Africa or something like that. But no, he's known for playing dumb and stupid. And he's not particularly bright. So he has loads of watches, but he can't tell the time, which is slightly disturbing. But no, you're welcome to him. We're really not remotely bothered.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Steve Allen.
Have the train fares gone up? I can't remember, actually, if they've gone up. Everything seems to be going up, doesn't it? I noticed, even in Iceland the other day, things which... sounds like... T. For T... second letter? Oh, right. Sorry, we're arguing over the T. It was Kevin the Milkman who brought our milk the other day. Kevin the Milkman. Can't be many milkmen driving around with a pint of Gold Up. Yes, I'll have a tea. I'll have a tea. There is a bit of milk actually out there, which is very good news. Very good news. Cakes, Mr. Kipling cakes, £1 a week ago in Iceland, £1.25 now. They've shoved them up, a lot. Rail fares up 3.8% in March. I'll tell you, next year we're all going to go broke, aren't we? I can just tell, actually. And that's above the RPI inflation rate. Industry leaders have argued for a freeze to tempt passengers back to the railway. I wouldn't tempt passengers back to the railway. Yeah, they've got to make money, but it's not going to... Doing anything is that, even if they offered a trolley service, it's not going to tempt anybody back to the railway who's sort of left it. Why would you want to? Dirty, full of people without any masks on and the risk of catching COVID. What would be the point? All this baloney about, and we clean our trains, well, I've never seen that happen. I've seen the trains come in, and all the people get off, and then we all get on again. They've got somebody who goes through the train picking up old newspapers thrown about on the floor and cups of coffee and stuff like that. But I've never seen them cleaning them. Perhaps they do at the end of the day. Wayne, my favourite trolley dolly, with a day of COVID isolation left. Neighbours still has all the decorations up, including a large blow-up snowman that she's lit up singing Jingle Bells over and over again. She'll probably keep it another week. I'm over it now. You can't beat a singing giant Father Christmas singing Jingle Bells. Yes, Steve, it's the 6th of January, says Maggie. Epiphany. Yes. It's always been that, as long as I've been living. There it is. Oh, look, there's them Well, they don't do that on my train. I've never seen that happening. And here they are with a bucket and spade and masks and everything. I've never seen this happening. Bucket and spade. Look, they're cleaning all the... I've never seen that. Never seen it. So when they do it, it says the big signs all over Waterloo, saying that we clean all the trains, all the time. And I've never seen it. It's the first time I've ever seen it. And it's on YouTube. And I've just woken up with the most awful headache and sore throat. Hope, says Nick, it's not COVID, but all vaccinated. Well, listen, if you're all vaccinated, that's good. That's actually thank you. That's actually very good that you're vaccinated. That means that you will come through the other side. It's only the non-vaccinated who unfortunately stand the risk of not coming through it. Steve, we leave our tree up till the 14th in Moscow. We have Orthodox Christmas on Friday the 7th and Old New Year's Eve on the 13th. Wife's happy as she gets 2 sets of prezzies, says Graham. That sounds quite a nice idea. I think it's very adaptable. I see there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to say, listen, I'm celebrating in keeping with Moscow instead of the trees staying up till the 14th of January. Patricia in West London says, after eating the last, Steve, of the Christmas biscuits today, I found myself wondering if I should keep the tin to store a few bits and bobs in. Is that a sign of becoming ancient? I threw it away in panic. I refuse to start hanging on to biscuit tins just yet. Oh, no, you should definitely keep it. You can keep a sewing kit in there. Oh, it's definitely. Janet in Manchester says the founder of penny stores in Ireland, which was founded in the 60s or 70s, is also the founder of Primark, but didn't want to call them the same name, so chose Primark. Can't remember his name. You can't remember his name. Go on, think about it carefully. Go on. You should get it. It's almost a little bit obvious, actually. A little bit obvious. Arthur Ryan. There you go. No, it doesn't mean any sense to me either, but that was the man who he died in 2019. And somebody says, it's no wonder the cat sat giving you a nasty look if you made the poor thing sleep outside every night. It wasn't. They don't sleep outside. They're out hunting mice and rabbits and birds and things like that. They don't sleep outside. And also, we had ours done as well at the vets. So it couldn't... Yeah, we had it done. When we brought it back, it just sat there staring at us. You know, I thought, well, whatever. Kevin says, I mailed in saying I was in St Martin's Lane and I'd left the milk at the reception, but whoever read the messages must have missed my name at the end of the email. I'd become the anonymous milkman. Makes me sound kind of mysterious. But you are kind of mysterious, Kevin. We were so excited, honestly. I didn't think you'd let us down. They were almost taking odds on in the newsroom. Is Steve Allen going to get his... When I went out there, I was very smug and I went, listen, I asked for milk, I got milk. It's as simple as that. Yeah, 2 types of milk. Gold top, because Minty had never had gold top before. Never had gold top. It's milk with the cream on it. Normally, it's when you buy a bottle of milk, it's just milk, isn't it? And full fat or whatever else. If you buy creamy milk, like Guernsey milk, it comes with cream on the top of it. And so there's about 2 inches worth of cream on the top of it. Yes, but it dissolves. It's like cream, squirty cream you get in Starbucks when they put it on the top. That sort of dissolves into it, doesn't it? Well, this also does the same, but it's cream. Oh, God, I'll have silver top, honestly. It's not helped you at all being away for 3 weeks, has it? No, but Minty had never had it either. I thought it was quite normal, quite common. No, not normal. It is. You can buy it in Waitrose. It's not even in the peculiar milk section, which is almond milk and all these other coconut milk and all these other peculiar things. Got any gold top? You just go in there and you go, got any Graham's? And Graham's is the manufacturer, and they do, and it's from Guernsey cows, and it's rich and creamy. It's delicious. Delicious. Yeah, that's what they call me. It's my nickname, Steve Rich and Creamy Allen. They don't call me that at all, actually. They have other names for me. I see that 1 in 5 dog owners admit to not picking up after their pooch. Dirty people. Dirty people. Disgusting, isn't it, really? Around 11 million dogs in the UK. That means 2.3 million pooches are allowed to poop where they please. So Hull was the worst place. 33% admit not cleaning up after their dog's dirt. London came second. Oh, I see people doing it all the time. There was one bloke who did it. His dog pooped on the crossing down in Ladbroke Grove. I'm not sure if you can get fined for leaving it. Anyway, he just let it go to the toilet and then he carried on. I shouted out the car window, "Dirty! Dirty!" Luckily the window was wound up so he couldn't hear me. But, oh no, I have no hesitation in saying things like that, I tell you. I like the idea of Kevin the Milkman being kind of mysterious. Very. Scott in Littlehampton, aptly named. He says, we're leaving the tree up, but plan to decorate it differently or leave it as an indoor tree. It's only a foot tall, but it's a bit of a faff to put away. It's obviously a fake one then, isn't it? Because if you had a little one and it was growing, you could keep that going throughout the year, I suppose. I'm just dreading that we're going to get needles all over the place. Apparently dog poo fines vary from council to council. You know, apparently usually it's 50 or 100 quid. 50 or 100 pounds. Outrageous. Phil Vickery, you know, our Phil, somebody was asking about his clothing the other day. They started, you know, where did you get your shirt from? And he's had to start posting things. Anyway, he says, my brothers, morning Steve, morning Phil, and I used to fight over who got the cream off the top of the milk on cereal years ago. I'm with a packet of heathens here, Phil. They've never had gold top milk. Can you believe? Never had gold. I mean, I thought everybody had gold top milk. Not my two. Not my two. They've never had it before. I was trying to sort of persuade them. You should really try it. It's delicious. We have it on... Oh, dear. It's cream. It's cream, but it's on the top of the milk. But you can buy the milk as well, which has got the cream mixed in with it. So it makes it even cream. Don't turn your nose up. Honestly. Yes, to each their own. Well, I mean, it's quite normal. This is not anything peculiar. I mean, I told you before, we used to have tits round our way. And, in fact, the woman next door had more than most. And they would peck the top of the gold top to get to the cream, because that was better than the other stuff. Phil says, what, they've never had gold top? No, they've never had... I mean, I can't believe it myself, actually. I can't believe did your mummy and daddies never sort of splash out? It's a bit more expensive, splash out on having gold top. What else have you not had? Have you had popcorn before? Oh, good. Butterkissed? That's normal, is it? Oh, right, yeah. I mean, I shouldn't imagine they've ever had spare ribs either, Phil. Yeah, mind you look as though you've had spare ribs, Producer Joe. That's one of those sort of things. Yes, nice to be back with that friendly atmosphere. Oh, look, it's still on speed dial. HR, thank you very much indeed. So, Warren says, I've spoken to Bonnie today. This is Bonnie Lithgow. She's got a really bad cold chest infection. Wish her the best of luck and get well soon, from Warren and from everybody else, Bonnie. It's doing the rounds, I fear. Not so great, but good luck. Also, Phil Vickery has come back at 3 a.m. I don't know if we've ever had 3 a.m, but he was sort of saying, I've lost it now. Where's it gone? Oh, honestly, I keep losing all these different things on my telephone, and so 1 minute things are there, and the next minute they're not there. So I've lost it completely. Oh, I've got a prize on the National Lottery. It's exciting. It'll be another £2.30 I won't know what to do with. I do my best, honestly. I do my best. Yeah, so in between Phil Vickery, this shirt he was wearing, it's by Anthony Maratta. It looks like he's a Polish builder. It's camouflage clothing, and you get a lot of that. I don't know if you've ever sat on the trains with all the Polish builders. They like this camouflage look. I don't know why. I suppose it covers up paint and all the rest of it. But, I bet it was a fortune. I bet it was an absolute fortune. I've still got some of Dale's camouflage trousers, which he bought years, which he never wore. He never wore at all, actually. I can't know. Well, we couldn't see him in many things. He turned up to my gig at the Fairfield Halls in Croydon with leather trousers on. Nothing else, just leather trousers. Apparently Gold Top is fabulous, says Phil, on porridge. There you go, porridge. It's good for it. Have you had porridge? Thank God for that. It's not so bad, is it? So we're liking the shirt, Phil. I bet that was an arm and a leg. It looks like it's got what I call a Mr. Chow collar, which is what? They're called Mr. Chow collar. Have you never seen them? They're just sort of upright collars, but there's no folding over of it. It just goes up a little bit, so it just goes higher. You've never... I can't hear you. Like a Bond villain, yes, dear. What do you mean, like a Bond villain? What sort of Bond villains are you looking out for? My favourite Bond film was the bloke who they booked. What was his blooming name? Was it Blofeld? He didn't speak English. And so he was dubbed. But when you actually watch the film, and he's got a horse racing place, you can see that his lips are not matching with what he's saying. Goldfinger, because he didn't speak very much English. they were a bit nonplussed by it, which was very good. Bitterly cold here, Steve. You and your show are warming up my cockles, as always. Thank you. And Roger says, have you ever bought something when shopping, then when you're back home, you've already got one? Oh, constantly. And nothing new there at all for me. I mean, I spend ages doing that. And Tony says, when I were a lad, Mum always left yoghurt pots out for the milkman to cover the milk and stop the birds. We used to use the yoghurt pots on a stick. You'd put it in the garden, and because they would move about a little bit, it used to keep the birds off your seeds and stuff like that. That was sort of an early scarecrow. Now we've got the producer, of course. It's marvellous because we can keep him employed through most of summer. Basically just stick a pole up his back and he's fairly happy. He just stands there flailing his arms around. It's a great bird detractor.
This is LBC. Steve Allen on LBC. Text 84850.
Joanne says, Steve, does Kevin the milkman drive a milk float? No, he carries it all round in a backpack. Of course he's got a milk float. What do you think he's driving around? He's got a little trolley. One of those baskets on wheels, and he's got, 6 milk bottles in there. Heavens above. Heavens above, no. Dawn Neeson, talking about face masks, mandatory for children in Northern Ireland since the summer, and I wish it was the same here. The amount of kids that are going around without masks on. Seriously, not a good idea. A country that has seen COVID infections soar so much that tough lockdown restrictions are now in force. So why in hell are we now forcing youngsters in England to have very ineffective pieces of cloth wrapped round their faces for the entire school day? Well, it won't last, will it? They won't want to keep them on. They really won't. Also, appreciate that former Prime Ministers get knighthoods as a matter of course. But Tony Blair, I mean, come on. 14 years it's taken. 14 years. 14 years for Tony Blair to get his thing. And now a lot of the people who lost people in the Afghanistan war have said if he's given the knighthood, they're going to give their medals back. He will get the knighthood. It's standard for prime ministers. They automatically, admittedly for him, it's taken a bit longer, 14 years, but he will get it. I mean, the Order of the Garter from the Queen, that's bestowed by the Queen. And to be honest with you, it's just a bit of pantomime as far as I'm concerned. They just put on pretty robes and they cost a small fortune, and then they walk down the hill from Windsor Castle and they go in the chapel and you get your name up on a banner or something like that. I forget when it was started, actually. Although Harold Macmillan was, strange enough, was never knighted. They never knighted him, unless he sort of turned it down. He might have been one of those who sort of turned it down. I don't think so. I think all these people love it, don't they? They absolutely love getting an award, you know. I'm either going to go and get a knighthood or something like that. Would I accept one? Too bloody true. What do you mean, would I accept one? Hello? Go on, I tell you, I'd be biting corgis' ankles to get to the Queen. But I only want the Queen giving me the award. I don't want anything else. Yeah, I turn it down. If they go, and Prince Charles... No, I'm sorry, it's got to be Her Majesty the Queen. It really has. I mean, just to say that, you know, the Queen gave me my knighthood. No, I mean, listen, I don't think you ever do any job and you do it for a reward. You don't do the job for a reward. The reward is the money you get paid. That's the reward. And so when David Beckham was complaining about, I've done all this charity work for UNICEF, he's got completely the wrong end of the stick. You don't do a bit of UNICEF faffing around just so you can get some sort of award. That would be ridiculous. You just do it, stop, you know, and also he was a bit of a fool. He then wrote rude words in an email, didn't he, saying, you know, these people who hand these things out, they're so-and-so and so. I couldn't even repeat the language. Far too disgusting. Far too disgusting. Scott says, over the weekend I introduced my partner to Costco. Imagine the excitement when she found out that her blue light card granted her membership. Our freezer is fully stocked. We can only thank you for mentioning Costco. Again, she was intrigued. Lovely. Talking about the lottery earlier, if you won the big prize, would you still come to work, says Dale? Absolutely. God, can you imagine the fun you could have? Winding people up who hate you. Brilliant. Oh, that'd be the most fun I'd ever have. But of course, then I'd be, I could be fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, of course you'd come to work. Why would you stop work? Goodness sake, that's, you know, if you liked, of course, if you have a job which you hate, and you have a job that you don't get well paid for or you don't think you're appreciated, well, then I can understand somebody going, I've won the lottery and I'm stopping work immediately. And you think, well, how much did you win? And they go, I won 15,000. You go, you've stopped work? Are you mad? I won't go anywhere. You know, but if you won, you know, anything over 3 million, that would be enough to change your life, wouldn't it? You could buy a property, buy a car, and then bank the rest and carry on working. I've known people before who, in fact, I know somebody, and it's their job to talk to people who can't cope with a lottery win. They go round there. They're a former lottery winner themselves, and they're employed by Camelot to go round and to talk to people. Because there was one couple, and they won the jackpot, and it was a substantial jackpot. They're very elderly, and they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want anything to do with it. They weren't going to move, because they liked living where they were living. And so next door neighbours still have no idea that they're a big jackpot winner. But this bloke goes round there and sort of talks to them just to see if they want to accept, you know, they have got the money. It's just that they don't want anybody to know about it. Well, you tick no publicity when you first enter into the deal with them. I mean, I've ticked publicity, but, you know, I'd be all over the papers, yes. Steve Allen, 68. And always a good one, I think. Always good. But no, I mean, of course you'd carry on work. What would you do otherwise? I've already decided what I'd do. You know, if I won 14 million last night, then I'd be more than happy I would give money to make some noise. I'd help out the producer. 20 quid. I'm not accepting any, you know, I don't want him to go, oh, Steve, I couldn't accept. No, it's for you, Joe. You enjoy yourself with it. Yeah, he'd be off straight away, 20 quid. Minty, she'd get, you know, a car or something like that, you know, something to sort of, you know, drive. You can't drive, okay, so we're getting her driving lessons, and then she can get the car after that. But no, you just want to do nice things with it, wouldn't you? I never understand people who go, I'm going to stop work, and they buy the house. That was that stupid Mikey Carroll. Remember the bin man? What a revolting piece of work. Yeah, the lotto lout, Mikey Carroll, who basically annoyed his neighbours beyond belief by having car derbies and everything else. Luckily, he lost it all. I couldn't have laughed more. Because Camelot offer you all the advice. The moment you win, you phone them up and they will say, they always drag it out. It's a bit like watching Ant and Dec doing a quiz show, and they'll go, wait a minute. So, yes, I can tell that you have got some money. There are 6 zeros preceded by the decimal point and the number 14. So 14. Why don't you just tell me it was 14 million? Why are you dragging it out? It's not a game show on the television. Yes, you won 14 million. Thank you. Thank you. And then they say, do you want a new bank account? Do you want it in your old bank? You imagine your old bank account, Mr. and Mrs. Entwistle, who come from Nantwich or something. The local branch up there has never handled anything more than £100 cheque. And somebody's going to deposit 14 million quid. So you go to a big bank and they will look after it for you. And they offer you all the advice about investments. Most people don't take the advice. They don't want to do the advice. They just want the money, buy the house, buy the flash car, go on holiday. And that's it. And then once they've sort of done all these things, they come and sit back home and stare at the walls because they've got nothing. It doesn't increase your amount of friends. It might increase the amount of post that you get, because you'll see people wasting champagne and they take the picture. Oh, yeah, I'd have the paparazzi outside here again. And it would be a case of, well, so what are you going to do with the money, Steve? I go, well, I don't know. I just thought of all sorts of interesting. There's so much you can do with it. There's so much good you can do. I'd like to be a philanthropist, but unfortunately I've stopped drinking. So anyway, God, I'll tell you, it's a winner, this programme. It's a cracking show, this, as they say, 21 million and still counting, which is good news. But no, I mean, until you win it, you wouldn't know. And we will do it this morning. We will have a little check. But if I go very quiet, you'll know. I'm not going to be telling you that I've won 14 million, but it's unlikely. Yeah, Ian Payne will be, all of a sudden it'll be a case of, and I'll be back with you. Hello, I'm Ian Payne. He's gone Irish all of a sudden. Yes, he went there on holiday once. Payne. Steve, John Bercow didn't get a Lord's position, even though all previous speakers got in, says Davey. I've forgotten about John Bercow. He turned up on a show the other day and somebody said he was very good. I seem to recall, says Roger, that it's not the first time Kevin the Milkman's come to the rescue with the gold tops. No, he came to my rescue before when we didn't have any milk. And he's my saving grace. He's my saving grace for sort of getting the milk in. Because if you do a programme like this where you do talk... Somebody wrote the other day and said, God, do you talk? Could you go, it's because it's speech radio. You'd have to be a bit thick not to realise that's what it is. I mean, Kevin should be knighted. Or at least an OBE or an MBE or something like that. Services to broadcasting in a roundabout way. So it's a very good idea. But John Bercow was very good, actually. Very good. My mum says this one here, a milk delivery. Last year... For a few weeks, somebody who lived in the area drank our milk and then left the bottle outside the door. So one day, my mum got the milk delivery at 3 a.m, took in the bottle, poured out half of it, and then poured in some liquid laxative. That's not very nice, is it, really? Then looked out the window at 6 a.m. The bottle was empty, but that was the last time it was ever taken. That's a bit of a... That sounds like an old-fashioned joke to me or something like that. I can remember the first time I had diabetic chocolate. Ghastly stuff, don't ever touch it. And it works very badly for diabetics. It works as a laxative because the chocolate is somewhat different in consistency. And somebody said, oh, no, you don't want to touch that. So if you want chocolates, you have proper chocolates. It tastes so-so. You should never eat diabetic food. You don't need to. You can eat normal food. You just do it in moderation. And you don't have, look for 10% fat. That's what you're looking at. Under 10% fat would be good for you. I don't have fried foods very often. Very, very rarely. Very, very rarely. But no, anything that's got the word diabetic on it, I avoid like the plague. It's not, you do too, which is lovely. So what else we got? Oh, they were doing a counting the other day in London Zoo. They have to count the animals every year to see it. They do. They so do. And apparently they were sort of, counting the lions and squirrel monkeys and everything else. But, they won't stay still long enough. It's 760, 701, 2, so it goes on. You have to count the penguins and everything, the Humboldt penguins, and the camels, but as they've only got about 3, it can't be that difficult for them. And they go round and they count all the animals in the zoo. I don't know if it makes any difference. I was a member of London Zoo because I supported their programme of reintroducing animals and also looking after animals to make sure that they had and then they sort of looked after. They have a huge programme going on there, which people don't know about, which is a bit of a shame. A female comic gets more sexist heckles doing stand-up than when she strutted in a leotard at boxing matches. This sounds to me like a cheap bit of publicity for somebody who used to do it for boxing matches and now is trying to make a living as a stand-up comedian. So she comes from Welwyn Garden City. There you go. Another one of Rich. It'll be one of Rich's mates, I can tell, actually. Welwyn Garden City. Is he in Welwyn Garden? No, he's in Tunbridge Wells, isn't he? I always lose track of it. I don't know. He'll have to send me a text. Poor soul. Nike is the world's most valuable apparel for the 7th year in a row. It's that tick, isn't it, that gets people going and they go, oh, a swoosh. What's that? That's what the tick is. The tick's called a swoosh. Well, that's ridiculous. It's a tick. It's a tick. I know what a tick is, for goodness sake. A swoosh.
This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Steve Allen.
Morning, everybody. Coming up 4 minutes past 5. It's nice to have your company at Steve Allen's Early Breakfast on LBC with you till 7, Monday through Friday. And you can download the podcast. We have 2 every day. One is Steve Allen's Little Bit Extra, and the other is Steve Allen's The Whole Show. I think that's what it's called, isn't it? And so what they do with The Whole Show, in fact, Minty is doing it even as we speak, is they sort of take out the adverts, they take out the travel and the news, and you just get the programme. Which actually means you do quite well out of it, because I forget what a 3-hour programme comes down. It's pure Steve. I think we should just call it undiluted. I wish I'd not said that on air, because somebody would be listening going, that's the one I want, undiluted, Steve Allen undiluted. And then we have the Little Bit Extra, which doesn't have those things in anyway, which is quite nice. But we've got record numbers of downloads. And also we are the number 1 podcast in the building. And did you know we were in the Amazon charts? Both my podcasts are in the Amazon chart for the top podcast. Did you know that? I can't remember. No, we didn't tell you. The podcast team told me that. They sent me a text. I didn't get any money out of it. No, I didn't understand that bit. But no, which I was very pleased about, actually. We've never been in a chart before. Although years ago we were, when they first started doing podcasting, and we didn't know what it was. Wayne the Trolley Dolly, again, he said, very impressed that Kevin the Milkman turned up at Global with bottles of milk for you. I feel that as Kevin and I are long-standing listeners, it's my duty to now turn up at Global with miniature bottles of vodka and gin for you all from the trolley. Packet of peanuts would be quite nice. I quite like a packet of peanuts. Funny thing is, whenever I flew, I didn't drink vodka or anything like that. I drank tomato juice. I know, isn't that the oddest thing? Some people hate it. Me, I used to love it. I used to go, I'll have tomato juice. And they go, Worcestershire sauce? I go, no, I'll just have it straight, but with lots of ice in. And I didn't even have a Bloody Mary, no. And she was. And no, I just liked tomato juice. I grew up drinking it in pubs, because if we went off to a pub for the day, which is highly unlikely, seeing as I was 11, and I would always have a packet of crisps and a tomato juice. And I grew to like tomato juice, and I've had it recently, and it's very nice indeed. I bought it in Waitrose. You can buy a carton of it, which is the cheap stuff, or you can get a bottle of it, which is proper expensive. Mavis in Corrie used to drink it. Well, I don't really know, Rita. You see me as a Mavis figure. Yeah, I thought you might. Take that idea out of your mind straight away. I refuse to be used as a fantasy. Thank you very much indeed. I'm a human being. I've got rights. Nearly said I had thoughts. The most noble order of the Garter is an order of chivalry founded by Edward VIII. Yeah, so explain how on earth Tony Blair's got one. It's supposed to be awarded for chivalry. Tony Blair and chivalry don't go together, says Dennis in Grantham. It must be a joke. No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. According to my mate, who won £5 million as Roger in 2012, the biggest problem are relatives and hundreds of begging letters. Well, somebody said that, didn't it? The married couple, and they won the lottery, and the wife said to the husband, what do we do about the begging letters? And she said, well, we keep sending them. That's what it is. Darren's been in touch. Yeah, well, our Darren, oh, bless his heart, honestly. He enjoys tomato juice on a plane too. I've always done that. I've always liked it. I've never had any additives. I don't want them to... I mean, the only thing I would have, if I was having it in a pub, is a stick of celery. Why a stick of celery, I have no idea. Why they put a stick of celery... They do it in tomato juice. What is it? And gold top. No, they don't put gold top in it. Although, actually, you could have it some gold top in maybe a curry or something like that as a swirl of cream. That'd be quite nice. I do like a swirl of cream, which is very good. But no, tomato juice is great for flying. You don't want to get drunk flying. You get off the plane the other way and go, we'll keep a welcome. No, you don't want to do that. It was bad enough when we got to Florida one time, and I luckily didn't take my fruit off the plane. He managed to walk off by himself. But anyway, sorry, it's an old joke. Couldn't resist it. And they have dogs, spaniels, that sniff round you to see if you've got fruit. Because it's illegal to take fruit in when it's come from elsewhere. The fruit that they give you on the aircraft, and so many people save it. You know, if you've got a small banana, and back to another story we did a while ago. But anyway, so it was a case of if you've got a small piece of fruit on you, people think, I'll have that when I get to the hotel. No, you can't bring it into the country. So these dogs are there, and they will, exactly the same as the drug dogs, except they're a bit more with it, and they just sit in front of you. If you've got fruit, they can sniff fruit. It upsets the ecosystem. The worst ones I've told you before are borderline Australia, where they get the tour parties of Chinese going through, and they've all ticked no food on the little card that they bring in. They open up their suitcases and they're chock-a-block with food, and it all gets confiscated. And if it's enough, they get fined $200 as well at the same time, because you can't have people transporting food between countries. So, you know, that's it. What do you think of Kim Woodburn, the former cleaner? Says Alex. I love her. I thought she was fine. I mean, listen, she had... I must tell you this story, actually, because she came in to be interviewed years and years ago, and she's a bit flirty. She's a bit flirty-worty. And I had a producer, Michael, and she couldn't take her eyes off him. He's a beefy lad. He plays rugby and all the rest of it. And I'm doing the interview with her, and she's looking him up and down, and I'm thinking, I said, she really likes you. And he went, yeah, I did get that impression. Me, I just paled into insignificance, obviously not butch enough. But, yeah, she was obviously playing hard to get. But no, I quite like her. She had that row with Colleen. But then, listen, everybody rows with Colleen. Everybody rows with everybody. It doesn't matter who it is now. People will row with different people, so it doesn't matter. I mean, she had a row with Philip Schofield. You know, she said, Philip, I'm 75. Don't mess with me. Because he thought he was being a little bit clever, you know, playing devil's advocate. But as I say, it is our bounden duty this year to find Philip Schofield a boyfriend. I feel there is no point in coming out to the entire universe, with the help of the Sun newspaper, if you're not going to produce a boyfriend. Because everybody's dying to know what's his type. Well, you know, is it somebody his own age? I shouldn't think so. Is it somebody who's successful in the business? Shouldn't think so. And, you know, and you sort of start asking, we just want him to be happy. And I think he's happiest, you know, where he is at the moment. But I think if he had somebody to be happy with, that'd make him an interesting person, I think. So the former cleaner, we do like Kim Woodburn. She was on with Aggie. They both fell out as well, I think, didn't they? I think it was over... Listen, it doesn't matter. And heard you say... that you were a regular visitor to the London Zoo, says Bill. Do you still pay visits? Not been for ages. Listen, the weather's been miserable. Who wants to tramp around a zoo in the miserable cold weather? I know the animals are okay with it. I had a discussion with my wife, Steve, says John in Colchester, about winning the lottery. I said to her, what would we... There you go, the begging letters. It's the same one I've just done. Stop pinching my lines. Ridiculous. Did you know Burger King has closed for 6 weeks, says Davey? At Waterloo Station for a refit. Business must be good to allow a closure. Yes, they weren't open yesterday. They had the shutters down, so shan't bother. In fact, I went and got, actually, I got a sausage baguette in Greg's in Richmond with 2 extra sausages, which was very nice, and sat at the bus stop. I stood at the bus stop eating them, and that was quite a nice little treat. But I could have done with my things. But the woman who runs the Burger King at Waterloo Station, she looks like she's having a breakdown. Seriously. Everything's like, she's like that all the time, running around, and do this, and take that, fry these up, and all this kind of stuff. It's amazing, actually. I would have thought that, you know, as they're launching today, they're, what are they called? Vegetarian bites or something? Hash browns, are they? Vegan bite nuggets. They're launching those today, and then they close for 6 weeks at Waterloo Station. Hardly worth bothering. All it is, it's a counter. They've got machines on the wall, and you just tap your card into eat in or take away, and then you decide what you want to do, and then it issues you with a ticket, and you go and stand there, and they sort of look on their little computer screen, and then they make your food. I mean, our senses of taste and smell don't work as effectively on aeroplanes because of low humidity. You see, we talked about that before, actually. Once the plane is in the air, the cabin pressure causes those senses to change even more. So the dry cabin air messes with the odour receptors that we have in our bodies. And since things taste differently when our sense of smell is impaired, think about eating when you have a cold. Food tastes blander on a plane than it does on the ground. So the same principle, and that's what makes tomato juice taste better in the air. Its normally earthy flavour is altered by the altitude and turns sweet and fruity. Isn't that exciting? Aren't you glad you tuned in this morning to hear that bit of staggering news on why tomato juice tastes better on aeroplanes? It does. It's good. I just wish the little glasses that they gave you were a little bit bigger. Because, I always go, can I have 2 tomato juices? Yeah, pint glass. I could drink a pint of it. I might have some today, actually. I might be a little bit adventurous and go out and get some tomato juice. Steve, I've not been able to sleep. So I'm sat having a cup of tea next to the Arga to warm up, and I'm listening to you on a very chilly morning. And Jason the Bailiff says, as a long-time listener of over 10 years, any chance of me visiting you one morning in the near future? I think not. It's I am a hologram. I don't actually exist. What they've done is I died some years ago, and they programmed the model with lots of famous phrases and sayings, and gave me witticisms and things like, and give me witticisms. And so it's been the best of Steve Allen since 2012. Nobody's realised. Nobody's picked up on this at all, that I do not exist. I am a figment of people's imagination, and to be honest with you, that's probably the best way. No, they don't do visits at all. It's mainly because of insurance and the fact that this building is so huge. There's 1,000 people in here. You could in fact be lost in here quite easily. When we first came in, we were given a map of where everything was. It was like a little booklet, finding your way around the building. And it took me ages to try and remember where everything was. And because we've got so many radio stations in the building and so many salesmen and women and so many production people and the television side of it and the outdoor eventing and everything else and the all the adverts that you see, all the boards and everything else outside. There's my team of writers for a start. That's almost half a floor by itself. Seriously. And then there's sort of Nick Ferrari, there's hairdressing, makeup, all those usual things. And you've got to have costume design for when they interview politicians. They've all got to dress up. Even little Guy out there will sort of all of a sudden change from being sort of Mr. Casual in a caftan to all of a sudden he's putting a suit on. It's amazing, really. I mean, Henry doesn't really bother that much, actually. It's best not. Although he did get quite depressed yesterday when I told him on air that we didn't have any milk. And then I said, no, joke. We do have it. Is Mavis from Coronation Street still with us? I believe so, yes. She's 92. She's 92. I can't believe it either. Well, I don't really know, Rita. 92. I thought the impression was quite good, actually, for this time of the morning.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Steve Allen.
Morning, my friend Rich, who is heading on his way home. In fact, I can't remember how long it takes him to get home. He's in Royal Tunbridge Wells. I think which is where Ian Dale is, isn't he? Isn't Ian Dale out there as well? I'm pretty certain. Was it one of his many properties? I mean, seriously, I think he's just bought a holiday village or something. But Rich says, I think you may be the only person to have drunk vodka and tomato juice in the Craze pub. It's quite numbing, actually, vodka and tomato juice. I quite like it. But you've got to have a double. Can't have a single vodka. That's a complete waste of time. There's no point at all. The wife and I, Steve, moved from Croydon to Scotland over 30 years ago, and we've still got the same milkman. Should I be suspicious? Ray and Hamilton, I couldn't possibly comment, but the answer is yes. Also, says Roger, alcohol is more potent at altitude than on the ground. If you travelled first class instead of cattle, you could have any size glass you want. Well, they didn't have first class on these planes. They just had business class, and I was travelling business. Yes, I was travelling business, but no, I mean, it's only really the long haul. If you're flying from here to Scotland, there's not a first class on the plane, I should point out to you. So obviously, but no. I always travel business, because you get a bit more room on the seat, and and they leave you alone. I want to be left alone on a plane. I don't want somebody coming around going, oh, do you need anything? Would you like a hot towel? No, thank you. I just want to sleep. It's my opportunity to sleep. I sleep on planes. I love it. Absolutely love sleeping on planes. Do you go aisle or window? Aisle. A window. Always window. I don't like the idea because then it means I have to step over them to go to the toilet. And if they're not quick with moving their legs, I don't need to go to the toilet. Get the drift? No, I love it. I can remember when we went to America, me and a former producer of mine. After I woke up, they come round on, I think we flew Virgin, and we went business, and they bring you round. They offer a hot sandwich, a hot toasty, and ham and cheese or ham, and cheese and tomato, cheese without the tomato, tomato without the cheese, or the ham, or the bread. And that was quite nice. And they said to me, was that ham and cheese or cheese? I said, no, ham and cheese would be nice. And they said to my producer, they didn't know it was my producer, they said, what would you like? She went, I won't have one. I said, yes, you will. She said, no, I don't want one. I said, yes, you do. Thinking, I'll eat 2 of these sandwiches. And it took ages for it to sink in with her. I remember thinking, why does she not realise I'm going to eat her That's why she's ex-producer. I tell you, the next day I stood at the door here. I said, that's for you. She said, what is it? I said, it's called a P45. Yeah, there's a ticket home to wherever you're going, but you're going cattle. But it's something. I love it when people sort of say to me, oh, of course, if you went first class. Listen, whenever I get on aircraft, I go left. OK, I've only ever been right once, and that was flying out to see Father Christmas in Luosto, which, again, I recommend, to everybody. So what have we got in the papers this morning? Hate to tell you, it's COVID. Also, Theranos. This is this Silicon Valley firm. Basically, they claimed, and the woman here, Elizabeth Holmes, claimed that she'd invented a machine that could take a few little drops of your blood and tell you every illness you had. She was a liar. She's a fraudster. And not the first fraudsters that we've had, because we found another one. But mind you, her company was once valued at $9 billion. Rupert Murdoch put in $92 million. It was all people who were looking to make money. She lied about technology, why they didn't suss her out beforehand. And she hugged her husband, and then she left the courtroom. She faced 11 charges, found not guilty of 4 of them. And she said she could detect diseases with a few drops of blood. It was just fake. Fake from start to finish. She was a fraudster. An absolute fraud. But it only goes to... It's like the Emperor's New Clothes. We're not going to tell him that he's stark naked, walking around in his pants. We can see the clothes, because if you didn't, you'd be in trouble. And then we found another one who had claimed and sold it to the British Army, I believe, a box that could detect bombs and things like that. That turned out to be fake. He was selling them for £60,000 a box, and they were buying them. Countries around the world were buying these boxes, and of course there was nothing in the box. It was almost like the mock auctions that they used to have on Oxford Street down here in London. They've sold bridges before. I think the Eiffel Tower has been sold a few times. I'm pretty certain. But London Bridge, I think, was sold by somebody. You'll always find crooks, people who sort of try and cheat the system. The best one were the people who would pull up alongside you in the car if you were waiting at the bus stop. And it happened to me on 2 or 3 occasions. You go, hello, mate. He goes, listen, I've just come back from a hi-fi show at, Docklands or whatever. Yeah. And I've got some speakers, which I don't want to take home again. I can bang them out at a really cheap price. And he'd open the boot of the car, and there would be these beautifully boxed speakers and everything else. And he'd go, I'm just looking for 150 quid. He said, they're worth 1,000, because they're this, and like any speaker's worth 1,000. But anyway, and of course me, I'm just happily listening and thinking, you're absolutely mad as a fruit bat. And then when people had bought these things before and they took them home and took them out of the packaging, they discovered it was just a box with nothing inside it at all. There was no speaker. It was just a box. And the blokes used to stop you and go, I'm just going back to the airport, mate. You think you're in Richmond. You're way off course here. Way off course. And you go, I'm just going back to the airport. I've just been to the menswear show at Olympia, and I've got these leather jackets. Could bang them out of 50 quid. And they loved it. And he'd open up the boot of the car and he'd have about, a boot full of these leather jackets. And you think, no, cheap plastic. But people will always try and cheat you. And there's been quite a number of these people over the years. But this woman made billions out of selling a dream. A dream that was never had any chance of surviving at all. And so she got caught out. Hopefully she'll be going to prison and staying there for a long time and be made to pay all the money back. Talking of that, the 16 entrepreneurs, or as I prefer to call them, fraudsters, the people who tell lies about just how successful they are in business, and they want to be with Alan Sugar. And they've got all sorts of people here. The youngest candidate is a hotel front of house manager. They work on the desk, OK? Sorry, you booked into what room? I'll just have a check on the computer. They're receptionists, OK? Not front of house manager. And this one here says, every day when I wake up, I write 10 things I'm grateful for. Yeah, I do that every day, dear, but mine's achievable. Yours, of course, isn't. There's one here who's a pharmacist. I'm the est of everything, meaning I'm the coolest, smartest and wickedest in the business. You sad little person. Another one here. This is the Queen of Puds, who's a dessert parlour owner. I'm definitely not in business to make friends, and I'm pretty sure Lord Sugar isn't looking for a new mate. I'd be surprised if you've got a business when you finish doing this, actually. There's one here who's a cocktail maker. Works in a bar. OK. And failure is not an option. Winning is part of my DNA. They're all plenty of bunny. One of them, number 13, actually, is... this is the pharmacist, Naveed Sol. I think he's been on a few reality shows before and still failed. Not so good. Designer child's wear guru. This is one here who's kids' clothes online store owner. In other words, she sells tat online and you can buy it because, if you're going to buy stuff, you go to a shop. She said, I'm an East London girl and I've got that no-nonsense sort of work ethic. I've got grit, determination. I'm determined to be successful. In other words, you're obviously not at the moment, which is a shame. Eco-conscious. This is Francesca Kennedy Wallbank, who's a sustainability firm owner. What do we think that is? I've got no idea. She's 26. She says, winning means everything to me. I've never lost anything in my life. Brace yourself, love. Here it comes. Here it comes. Yeah, your dignity. Ex-RAF man, Aaron Willis, flight ops instructor. I can sell to anybody, and I think that's the reason why my business will be a success. Doesn't actually have a business at the moment. He's obviously living in cloud cuckoo land. School dropout, Alex Short, cleaning company owner. OK, he employs women cheaply to clean places. He said, I compare myself to a Ferrari, shiny on the outside, but under the bonnet there's a lot of fire. I've looked at a picture. It's a very small little fire, ladies and gentlemen. An accountant, Nick Showering, a finance manager, works in a bigger company. I'm a qualified accountant, and when you combine that with my natural genius ability in business, it's a lethal combination. Ex-reality star Amy Ansell, whoever God's name she is. She's 48. She's a beauty brand owner. In business, I never take no for an answer. When I hear no, I actually hear next opportunity. You're a bit of a dreamer, aren't you, love? It's not your fault. And bath bomb guru Harry Mahmood, regional ops manager. He's got a company that makes cheap bath bombs. He says, everything I've looked into achieving, I've achieved. Oh, dear. Well, here we go. This is about to be your first failure, then. What was the other one that I quite liked, actually? Oh, a killer salesperson, a digital marketing agency owner. He says, I have this disgusting inner self-belief. I'm so confident to the point people think I'm deluded. Well, we'll be the judge of that one, dear. But most of them, as I say, they look a bit sort of vacuous. And you'll hear the same old rubbish. Because we've seen it every time they actually set them tasks to do. They don't seem to be able to do anything at all. They are total failures. But never mind, I'm sure they'll all be doing really, really well, and so you'll be annoyed with another bunch of people whose ego is only matched by the size of their feet. Other stories in the paper today, deserted. Everywhere deserted. London's Victoria deserted, but then of course it would be, because they've closed it down for a few weeks, London Victoria, so that's why it was deserted. There was only one man sitting there and he was waiting for the toilets to open. I think it's Southern have cancelled London Victoria trains for 2 weeks over COVID. And so, quite rightly, when they take a picture, it's going to be deserted. Also, Waterloo Station. What amazes me still at Waterloo Station, the amount of people who work at Waterloo Station standing there with no masks on, talking to people with masks on. I mean, I find it absolutely unbelievable. Victoria's open, but less trains running. Manchester, empty trains at Altrincham and Westminster Bridge. Nothing to see. Nothing to see, apart from the scaffolding around Big Ben. Always a disappointment. And reading the obituaries of Betty White, the American TV star, best known, of course, as the Golden Girls role, struck by the fact that she was only in her early 60s when the show first aired in 1985. Her co-stars, B. Arthur, Rue McClanahan and Estelle Getty, now all sadly deceased, were 63, 51 and 62 respectively. Practically spring chickens by today's standards. And Betty White was 99. 99. And her agent has actually come on and say she didn't have COVID. She didn't have COVID. She died peacefully in her sleep. Because people have started saying, oh, she got COVID. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Steve Allen.
Morning, everybody. It's Steve. I was stopped by somebody at a service station selling surplus watches from a watch convention. I didn't fall for it. says John. Thank goodness for that, actually. Bob says you're rather chirpy today. Always chirpy. I don't think I've ever had a day where I'm not chirpy, apart from unless it's been due to illness. But no, chirpy most days, actually. Do you remember the warehouses where some guy used to sell you a box, but it turned out to be cheap rubbish? I can remember them selling televisions in Oxford Street in the mock auctions, and people selling overinflated rubbish. Because I went to one of them. You remember, they used to advertise in the Evening Standard. And they would say, computers, £10. So-and-so, set of saucepans, £1. All these sort of things. You go there, and they'd herd people into a hotel down at Paddington, and then would become the hard sell. They would start off with little sell, pack of batteries, give me 10p, give me 10p. You throw out batteries, 10p. And this is just to get you going. And it's amazing how many people fell for this crooked man. And then he'd start selling things. OK, we've got, set of saucepans here, £1,550, 20 quid. Who'll give me 20 quid? People were literally throwing money at him. And then it got to the stage where if they didn't have the money, they were literally handing over their credit cards. They were called the mock auctions because they were basically rip-off people. And you don't see them anymore now. The hotels had to stop doing them. They were getting very bad publicity. Very, very, very bad. Steve, lovely to hear you mention Kim Woodburn. I met her once at an event with my brother. Do you know she's 80 this year, says Liz? Is she? Well, I'm more amazed that Mavis from Coronation Street is 92. Anyway, the woke school gets rid of the Rowling as a house name. And the Harry Potter author was adopted as the figurehead of one of 6 houses in the Boswell School in Chelmsford. Because we used to have Saxons, Romans, different things like that. I was Saxons, and you had different coloured bands for wearing if you were running and stuff like that. But she's been cancelled in favour of Dame Kelly Holmes, following requests from students and staff over her comments and viewpoints surrounding trans people. One parent who asked not to be named. Yeah, I bet you did. Oh, I said, would you like to give you a name? No, I don't. No, God knows. God. Yes, Mavis. I was definitely not in favour of this, but what does it say about freedom of speech? The way I see it, Rowling has tried to explain a position on a difficult subject in a reasonable way. I should imagine most of the people haven't got the faintest idea what she said. Not the faintest idea. Another told the Mail Online, this is censorship. J.K. Rowling's a good example of achievement through diversity. But listen, it's only a secondary school. You don't need to worry about them. They're not that important in the swing of things. But she was also removed as a house name in Holy Trinity Primary School in Richmond, as was Winston Churchill. My God, schools have dropped in standard, haven't they? Really. But I do feel sorry for Poster Boy. He's so desperate to find somebody to go out with that he's had to advertise himself on a poster. Save me from an arranged marriage. Find Malik a wife.com. And this is in Birmingham, Manchester and London. Mr. Malik, who describes himself as slim and 5'8" tall, is searching for a Muslim woman in her 20s, explaining his drastic measures. The entrepreneur from West London, oh God no, not from West London, not an entrepreneur, said, I just haven't found the right girl yet. It's tough out there. Arranged marriages have a place in tradition in many Islamic cultures. I just want to try and find somebody on my own first. But he has received more than 100 offers. He said, I'm hoping to get in touch with women I like soon. So he spent thousands on these billboards. So when he describes himself as slim, he is slim. But it's a bit desperate, isn't it? That he's got to actually set up a website to try and find somebody in this day and age. And he's in West London. You know, you're going to find loads of people in West London. But, I mean, that's not how you find somebody on your own. I mean, can't your family help out or something? You know, with the money. So you don't have to sort of pay to put your picture up on a billboard. Can you imagine being that desperate that you have to do something like that? I couldn't do that, actually. And Steve, do I remember correctly you were once at the Ideal Home show with Jeremy Beadle? No, Jeremy never did the Ideal Home show, as far as I remember. Well, if he did, he certainly didn't do it with me. Definitely not. I did the Ideal Home show, yes. We used to broadcast from there. So we had a studio. It was always sponsored by by a manufacturer of what do they call it? Not greenhouses, the things you have on the back of houses, conservatories. And so we'd be sitting in a conservatory doing it. But of course, if you watch a speech-based programme like this one, there's nothing to see. I'm not pushing buttons and flashing lights and all the rest of it. I'm just basically sitting here talking into a microphone, and that's it. And I mean, it's quite dull. Yeah, I'm not. The team are very bored. I mean, Minty's nodded off 3 times already. It's a case of make him juggle. And in a conservatory, it was very echoey as well, because nobody ever thought about that side of it. But we did that, and people had come and pressed their noses up against the glass while you were talking. All very disturbing. But we quite enjoyed it. It was good. We'd give away things like bags, and people would go round the Ideal Home Show collecting freebies from all the different stands and the stalls. So that was good. Steve, I bought some speakers at the back of a van like that. Must be nearly 25 years ago. Still going strong. Excellent quality, says Simon. You must have been the rarity. Yours were probably nicked, I should imagine. Also, a life-extending prostate cancer drug has been rejected for use on the NHS after officials ruled it was not worth the money. Oh, blimey. That's a slight worry, isn't it? Slight worry, not worth the money, but I suppose we've got to sort of save it as well, which is good. A group of beekeepers was arrested in Chile when police officers were stung at a protest calling for support for the beleaguered industry. The keepers swarmed the presidential palace in the capital, Santiago, demanding government help after a prolonged drought which has ravaged the industry. 7 officers were stung after being sent in to clear 60 hives containing around 10,000 bees set up to block a main road. Passers-by were forced to duck and flee as bees escaped when police officers tried to move them. Because you've got to be quite experienced in moving bees. You've got to basically find the queen bee, take her out, and the others will follow, which is much easier. Hair coursing will attract tougher sentences of up to 6 months in prison as part of a crackdown. So it's jail and a fine. I don't know how much the fine is going to be, actually, but they're going to be watching it very carefully because it still goes on. No matter what anybody says, people go, oh, no, we don't do that anymore. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And the lawsuit against the rock band Nirvana by a model who appeared on the cover of their most famous album as a baby has been rejected. Spencer Eldon, who's 30, was featured in the 1991 Nevermind, which sold 30 million copies, as a naked baby underwater with a $1 note on a fishhook. You'll remember the album. I mean, even if you don't know it, you'll have seen it in the newspapers. I'm a huge fan of Nirvana. Huge fan. I can name you every one of their tune. He sued the group last year, alleging the photo was sexual exploitation, which caused him extreme and permanently emotional distress. Do you remember the well-known newsreader in this country who took her photos in to Boots, the chemist, to have them processed, and it was pictures of her children in the bath? The woman in the chemist phoned the police. Seriously. Phoned the police and said she was exploiting children. Seriously. But anyway, this one here, the surviving members of Nirvana rejected the claims. Now a judge has dismissed the case after Eldon's lawyers missed a deadline to respond. He was a baby. He was just a baby. I mean, I realise that in some people's minds, peculiar people, a naked baby underwater with a $1 note on a fishhook. I just thought it was clever to get a kid underwater who was obviously breathing. How? I've got no idea. And the fact he was naked, everybody had pictures of babies naked. That was a... Yeah, well, everybody's parents always take pictures of their kids in the bath, don't they? With bubbles and all the rest of it. I mean, that's quite normal. Obviously not around nowadays. But anyway, he didn't... Yeah, tin bath in front of the fire, you'd sit there with you put the bubbles on your head, then you'd make a moustache. And that... No, just me again. I don't know why people... It's ridiculous, isn't it? And there's an actress called Emmeline Hartley described her horror at being scammed out of every penny she had after falling for a fake Royal Mail text. Have you heard of this one? The 28-year-old from Birmingham was duped by the message, which claimed she owed £2.99 postage fee for a package to be delivered. She clicked on the link in the text, which led to a website that mimicked the real Royal Mail page, and submitted her bank details. Duh. The next day, a man pretending to be from her bank phoned and said they had identified suspicious activity on the account. Wait for it, you know what's happening, don't you? And convinced her to transfer all her cash to another account to protect it. Duh! For £2.99. Emmeline said, I grew up with the internet and consider myself to be pretty tech-savvy. Obviously not, love. Obviously not. Anyway, what they did, they emptied the bank account. She transferred £1,000, her entire savings, but realised it was a scam when they also tried to get her to move her overdraft. Duh! Have you never heard LBC Radio before, love? My God, we put these things out over the years. There are people who will convince you. We've seen some activity on your account. We need to transfer it to another account for safety. I've never had any scam texts in my life. I would basically be shouting obscenities down the phone at them. I absolutely would. I would have no hesitation in that at all. I'd be asking all sorts of pertinent questions. And we've said before, do you remember I had a producer once? Once I had a producer in my life already, still waiting for a producer. Those were the days, happy days, when they didn't moan at you and shout. And his mother had got caught out by one of these scams where a bloke phoned up and said, there's activity on your account. You need to phone if you don't trust me, please phone the bank. I'll speak to you and run you through what it is. So she was fairly elderly. She put the phone down, picked it up to dial. The bloke's still connected, the other end. It's the same man. And he then goes, yes, hello, can I help you? And she goes, oh, is that Lloyd's Bank or whatever bank it was? And he said, yes. Oh, somebody's just phoned me. Oh, yes, but what's your name? Mrs. Higginbottom. Hold on 1 second, I'll put you through. And then he puts the phone, down a little bit. Then he picks up and goes, hello, fraud. She's still talking to the same bloke who's conning her in the first place. And he says the same thing. We need you to transfer this money. We've seen some activity on your account. And people fall for it. They fall for it. This is supposedly a sensible woman. £2.99 and she's handing over bank details. Pfft, I don't think so, love. Not for £2.99. God in heaven. Dreadful. Freezing in Eastbourne. I was in Saxon's house too, Steve, says Darryl. Not in the same school, I'm afraid. Ours was a very good school. Well, I knew it was a good school. It was approved. Dan says, I remember going to the Ideal Home Show about 10 years ago and walking out drunk after trying all the newly introduced British sparkling wines. Great day for freebies. No, they haven't done it for ages. Well, in fact, where it used to happen, the only place that's left now is Olympia. Earl's Court's gone. 1 and 2. It's a housing estate. Ghastly. Like you need more housing estates in London. Please not.
Steve Allen on LBC. Text 84850.
Morning, 12 minutes to 6. Are you good? I know I reckon this year's going to whiz through really, really quickly. I've just got this horrible feeling, actually. But on the subject of the Ideal Home Show, I thought it was great. You'd go there, you'd see there'd be loads of celebrities on different stands. We used to broadcast live from there. We had goodies to give away. I thought it was just great fun. Great fun. You could go up and, you're wearing your little badge thing round your neck and everything else. Back this year on the 11th to the 27th of March. Where at? Is it going to... It's going to be at Olympia. That's still going. That's where I first saw Bertram Mills Circus at Olympia. That was the circus. There was a book that came out, The Circus That Travelled by Train. And but I think Barnum and Bailey used to also travel by train. But Bertram Mills Circus in this country travelled by train. And very fantastic it was too. And they had an indoor circus with a fun fair in Olympia. The hall was so big they could put up the circus tent and they had their animals and all the rest of it. And then there was a fun fair around the outside. And it was great. It was really good. You don't find those things nowadays, do you? I do like a circus. Has Earl's Court completely gone? As far as I know, yes, completely. Years ago, I remember when they sort of started saying, we're going to put it down to put up a housing estate. And I remember thinking, I wonder how many houses you're going to get on that site. And the answer is loads. But it was great fun. Ideal Home and all those different concerts. I saw all sorts of people. David Copperfield I saw. It closed in 2014. The housing estate opened 3 years later. I don't even know how many houses there are on it. I should imagine there's a good few thousand. It's a big site. Earl's Court 1, Earl's Court 2. And that's when you think how long ago. Poor old Kate Garraway has said her husband Derek Draper is still phenomenally fatigued. As he fell ill in March 2020. He's sustained long-lasting damage to his organs and has been using a wheelchair. But he's very fatigued and very weak. The pantomime, it was a special thing to be sitting there with the children, holding their hands, doing something normal, but it took everything out of him, as you can well imagine. But she got herself a nice award, and then people started trolling her. I find it absolutely unbelievable that people can be that disgusting and that revolting. But once you actually find that these people, they collapse like a little pack of cards. It's amazing. The judge deals the blow to Andrew's hopes of having sex assault case dismissed. We're waiting. They think today now. They think there might be a response today from the judge on what's going to happen with it. Is it going to go ahead or is it not going to go ahead? But there's still big questions to be answered on this one. It really is. I mean, there are those close to him suggest he wants to avoid a trial to limit damage to the wider reputation of the monarchy. A bit late now, isn't it? Really. I mean, that what with you and what with Harry and all the other things that be going on with the monarchy, I don't think it's ever going to recover fully. I really don't. But also, Andrew is still refusing to speak to the investigators who want to interview him as a witness in their inquiries about others in a sex ring abusing girls along with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, it's on one of the planes he was on with Donald Trump, one of the another ex-American president, and Kevin Spacey. What in God's name was he doing there? Way out of his depth, I would have thought. You know, flying off to this multi-millionaire, billionaire's island and all these other things going on. Not so good. Sadiq Khan has been left isolated over plans to end the prosecution of young people caught with drugs. Not just any old drugs. He wants young people found to possess cannabis, ketamine or speed to go unpublished. Sorry, not unpublished, unpunished. Unpublished as well, I should imagine. And Thomas, you remember Thomas was a contestant on The Apprentice. It's basically we're having a relationship and he just can't be bothered to tell anybody about it. He says, "Are you excited for the new Apprentice tomorrow night?" From your favourite contestant ever. We've already run through them, actually, Thomas. We have we have run through them and had a look. And to be honest with you, there's not a lot of hope for many of them. Thomas Skinner owns Bosch Beds. Okay. But just so you're aware of it. But I always get this, actually. I've had other people from The Apprentice write to me over the years. But this one, some of them have been on other shows. Some of them have been on sort of like 2 or 3 other reality-type shows. So they're not doing it for any other reason apart from they just want to be famous. Which, as you know, it's like when you get pro singers on Britain's Got Talent. Or failing that on Britain's Got Talent and they bring in, circus folk to do juggling with chainsaws or tightrope walking, like they've wandered out of a council estate in Staffordshire. No, they are professional acts and professional singers and professional jugglers and circus people who do all sorts of things like, holding men up and doing a balancing act. I mean, it's not just like Diversity where they're sort of throwing themselves around the stage with gay abandon. It's not like that, is it? That's because I lost track of the amount of dance groups they had on there. Just makes me tired watching. And here we go, and whoop, and then somebody's going to balance on one hand, and it's just not my sort of thing at all. I mean, I was thinking about doing it at the live show. We're thinking of using elephants this time around, but they're not playing game with us at all because it's only a small theatre. It only holds 400. And the elephants, the idea is, I mean, I'll tell you this now because you might as well, you'll discover it later. They're going to come on stage at the beginning with me riding on the top of one of them. And then the elephant will sort of rear up on its two back legs and trumpet, and then it will put me down gently on the ground, and then they'll go back to their dressing room. Where they'll get dressed up in an outfit for the end of the show. And at the moment, they're not even coming out the dressing room. So I don't know where we begin with this. I might have to try something else. I thought pigeons. I could just bring out some dead pigeons and go, these were ones I ran into on the way here. Because that's going to happen very quickly, isn't it? That's going to happen very quickly. But Thomas, nice to know you're well this morning, or as well as can be expected at this time of the morning. Anne Widdecombe, talking about Nadine Dorries. She loves being famous, doesn't she, Nadine Dorries? But in deciding to review the structure of Ofcom, which numbers 10 ex-BBC employees amongst its 14 board members, marking own and homework are the words which spring to mind, as do old boy and networks, along with no wonder the BBC gets away with it. Ofcom defends this ludicrous state of affairs by saying the industry experience is vital. Of course it is, says Anne Widdecombe. But how many channels do we have and have had for many years? Yes, I mean, it does seem a little bit slanted on one side, doesn't it? But anyway, makes it exciting. Chrissy says, Steve, have you heard that the Cirque du Soleil is on from the 12th of January? It's a show to behold. You'll love it. I like Cirque du Soleil. I've seen them a few times, actually. And it's all very clever. They've got numerous ones. They've got one in Vegas operating. It's a franchise now. It goes around the world where these people... I mean, I think it's terribly clever because I can't do anything like that at all. Me and Thomas could have done a weightlifting act, but to be brutally honest with you, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen anytime soon, unless we're going to be bouncing around on beds or something, which I think is very unlikely. But I think it's very clever. They put on all these different things. It's beautiful to look at, but they have so many. There are 4 Cirque du Soleils in Vegas at the moment. Is that 4 different shows they're doing? 5 Cirque du Soleils. There you go, Thomas. There's hope for us both. We could put on little leotards. Not sure I'm a big fan of leotards. Including Michael Jackson and the Beatles themed shows. They're very good, though. Have you ever seen any of them? They're very good. They really are very good. It takes circus to a new level. New heights. So I can't do heights. And they've had all sorts of things. I've seen people, standing on balls that they take up in the air, and if you can balance on your balls as you're up there. I mean, that's quite an achievement, and it's beautifully choreographed, and the lighting and the costume and everything else. But again, a lot of them have come from circus, because they're about the only people meet. Julian York says, I've got tickets for the meet and greet for myself and my daughter Ellie. So excited to see the elephants. As I say, at the moment it's looking a bit thin on the ground. I don't want to go into it, Julie, but if they're not going to play ball, we'll have to go for something else. I thought ants. We could have ants. I did have an ant once. I adopted an ant. Somebody sent me in. You could adopt animals at London Zoo, and some listeners very kindly clubbed together, and I got an ant. And they sent me a picture of the ant with a little letter from him. Ant. His name was Ant. And he said, thank you for adopting me. And they sent a picture of him walking along a piece of rope with a lot of other his friends, all holding a bit of leaf. And well, he unfortunately, sorry, he unfortunately didn't live for very long. They don't, and I think it was the weight of the leaf that basically sealed his fate, because he wrote to me for one Christmas. And dreadful writing, and he sort of said, looking forward to the new year and all the rest of it. And that was the last we ever heard. I think somebody trod on him, actually. They don't live very long, ants. They really don't. 4 years? Yeah. My one didn't. He died very young. He was taken from us too soon. And yet, when I go back to London Zoo on the odd occasions, there is a piece of rope which goes across one of the roads, and just occasionally, when I look up at it, I think I see his ghost walking along there holding the biggest leaf, because he was like super strong. Little blue plaque for him going, Ant, died, owned by Steve Allen. And they walk across the road. You could see them carrying these leaves, because they're leaf cutter ants. And they go into this bit of jungle they've got for you. See them cutting the leaf, and then they he was carrying too much. There should have been a union or something. It was not right for him, but bless his heart, he did it. And Chris says, please don't use the elephant. Remember John Noakes? Yes, do you remember that one from Blue Peter? It did. It went toilet on the floor, and the keeper looked so embarrassed. He couldn't control it. These things. It was only a baby elephant on Blue Peter. You'll find it on YouTube. And the thing was turning around and then fell over. The keeper fell over. They all thought it was hilarious on Blue Peter, except for the keeper, who just looked a bit daft, actually. But it didn't matter. Here it is. Now we're watching it. And they've got this. So there's 4 of them. The keeper's got the elephant there, and they've stupidly given it food. The one thing you never do with elephants or any animals that you're going to work with is give them food before they're actually performing, because they want to go toilet. I won't do that, no. And here we go, and it's just started. Of course, they all have to move out of the way. John Noakes thinks it's hilarious. Valerie Singleton can't control her laughing, and Peter as well. They all thought it was great, and then it's just going to the toilet everywhere. It was the worst thing ever. But that was the joy of children's television, ladies and gentlemen. The joy of and all you see in the background is the 3 presenters trying to be professional, and the keeper being dragged around the studio by the elephant, who was having none of it. Look at him, look. Oh dear. And the keeper's going, no, don't. Love it.
This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Steve Allen.
Morning, everybody. Nice to have your company. Welcome to Wednesday. Apparently not everybody went back to work yesterday. I thought that was the day back, because the holiday's gone on for ever and a day, and I thought that people would be sort of saying, let's take the rest of the week off. Also, bearing in mind, a lot of people are isolating, working from home. A lot of trains are cancelled. A lot of buses are cancelled. And now they're saying, this is from the ambulance chiefs, if you've got chest pains, can you get yourself to hospital? So get a lift, because Omicron is hitting staff levels. The virus is sweeping north. There's also another strain which has just popped up in France, apparently, which appears to be very mild at the moment. Boris Johnson's been accused of not tackling the crisis. And so they've said if you've got a heart attack or chest pains, just get yourself to hospital. We'll see if we can sort you out then. Looking a bit vague, isn't it, really? But it's the amount of people who are going off with the NHS. I didn't realise how many people within the NHS are also not vaccinated. A lot of people don't want to be vaccinated for some peculiar reason. I can't quite work it out. Also, what was the other one? Oh, yes, thousands hit by the rail chaos amid the staff crisis. First day back at work havoc. Although in Scotland, I believe they get an extra day. I think they don't go back till today. In fact, you might as well just not bother going back at all. Go back at the weekend, just because it's gone on for weeks. Every time they sort of have something that takes place on the Saturday, they then throw it over until the Monday, which is ridiculous. Have you seen Shen Yun? They're at the Apollo in February. I've seen Shen Yun before. This is the Chinese dancers. They come over, and they're very big, very, very big. They say it's what you're looking at is China before communism. I think that's what they say about it. And have you never seen the dancer? You must have seen the adverts on the television. You can't miss them. They've got all these young girls with these beautiful skirts and everything else. And it's beautifully choreographed. But when you see it costumed, it's amazing. It's the world's premier Chinese dance show. The culture of ancient China brought back to life again. Have you never seen these adverts on the telly? Have you got colour television at home? How can you not have Shen Yun? But I used to like the old voiceover. The voiceover who we had last year was much better because he said, Shen Yun. And it used to sound, I used to think, oh, and the costumes are beautiful. And it's just basically dance numbers, and you're seeing something that, won't have been seen outside of China. And so China before communism, Shen Yun. They're opening just for me, actually. I love it. So, Prince Andrew. We're still waiting to see what's going to happen. He's obviously hoping that because of this document, which was signed, she gets money. For what? I do not know. I just know it was $500,000, and which came down to about £387,000, whatever it was. And there was this sort of, it was a settlement in line with what? I've got no idea. And basically, it was exonerating everybody else. She signed this thing, so it meant that they couldn't go after anybody else. And you think, well, that was then, this is now. And because Prince Andrew and his accuser are all over the papers, they've now gone to court with it in America, and they're now waiting to see whether or not the judge, who must be reading and rereading and rereading and going back on. I mean, the document said that she'd agreed in 2009 to release, acquit, satisfy and forever discharge Epstein and any other person or entity who could have been included as a potential defendant. I mean, it kind of basically is the get out of jail free card, isn't it? It's a case of, here is something, if she signs it, she has no comeback on it, but the courts might think differently and think, well, we're not sure about this. Because I think Andrew's lawyers are saying she's not an American citizen, she's an Australian citizen. So he has denied everything, but he still doesn't want to talk to the FBI. He still hasn't explained the peculiarity of the Pizza Express, which we can't get our heads around at all. She claims she was trafficked by Epstein to have sex